Yohman with CalTech, and today I'd like to discuss EverSpace, which is CalTech's virtual IT infrastructure. As part of this, I'm going to be just talking about disaster recovery. I just want to show you, I brought my own DR solution with me today, just in case my laptop doesn't work, so we take DR very seriously. So what is IT infrastructure? What does that really mean? It's just a fancy way of saying all of the server power that runs your bank on a day-to-day basis. Unfortunately, infrastructure isn't one of those things that people normally get excited about, right? You're not going to see a tweet by a venture capitalist, and you're not going to see a bunch of nerds at a technology conference talking about how amazing their infrastructure is. However, CalTech is very excited about the capabilities that EverSpace brings to this. So it provides you a secure, reliable, and scalable solution that gives you more time to spend on your business and less time worrying about the status of your servers. We know that everybody relies on technology. Nobody's interested in going back and filling out forms by hand. So what we need to do is make sure that we ensure that customers have access to all of those services as they need them. We spend a lot of time talking about disaster recovery, but what does it really mean? I think we all think of disaster recovery or disasters as tornadoes or hurricanes or something that you're going to see on the news. That's what we think of when we normally think of disasters. But we think it's a little bit more than that. What about the backhoe that cuts that piece of fiber? What about that semi-truck that runs off the ramp and hits that power substation? All of those can be disasters. So many times we overlook kind of the business continuity side of disaster recovery, but it's really no less important to your business. The fortunate thing is EverSpace provides both of those things, disaster recovery as well as business continuity. So let's compare the EverSpace solution to a traditional banking situation. So you see on the right, that probably echoes most of what you guys have. You have a main location, which is where all your servers are, and then you have branches, and those branches are connected back to that main location. Well, what happens when that fiber gets cut? What happens when your air conditioner fails? Well, EverSpace can become your own private branch. So we can pull out all that computing power and move it to a secure location so that if anything does happen, there is no single point of failure in EverSpace. From our blended provider internet that can survive multiple internet outages without affecting the customer experience at all. Another example of that is they have a 100% power uptime guarantee. They literally have 2 substations at a minimum at every location. So EverSpace can provide that continuity and data security in both your day-to-day operations as well as in a disaster recovery or a business continuity situation. But what if EverSpace doesn't fit your current business model? Well, we also offer a product that we cleverly call EverSpace Recover. You've probably all had a recent, maybe in the last couple of years, some questions from examiners and auditors about your DR strategy. Well, if you've looked at it, you know how complex and expensive it can be, and then where do you put it? You got to have some place to put it. The list really goes on and on. With EverSpace Recover, it has all of the core features of that private secure branch, but what you can do is you can pick and choose the components of your infrastructure that you've already designated as being the most important. Then that data would then be routinely copied into EverSpace and available when you need it. You call a situation, we assemble our team, and we start the process of cutting over to EverSpace Recover. The nice thing about EverSpace Recover is it's more than just a plan on paper. It ensures the safety and soundness of your business during a disaster recovery event. I know everybody's thinking, how do we keep your data safe, right? That's the next logical thing that you're thinking about. I want to share a little bit about myself. I spent 26 years in the Air Force. In that 26 years, I held a top secret security clearance that entire time. I monitored nuclear testing throughout the world, and I can tell you unequivocally that EverSpace provides a level of security that is comparable to a Department of Defense secure facility. So what about the cybersecurity part of it? That kind of takes care of the physical part of it. Well, the cybersecurity posture within EverSpace, one big thing I want to point out is that EverSpace alone can significantly address the number of IT-related items on your cybersecurity assessment tool. We know we all like to fill out that big cybersecurity assessment tool, right? What if EverSpace could fill out a good portion of that for you? Within EverSpace, we use a multi-layered approach to manage threats, as well as our own internal threat response team that works directly with security vendors to mitigate those risks. As a matter of fact, we just recently enabled a new anti-malware feature from one of our vendors that we work very closely with, and in just about a week, we've seen several dozen of those threats completely mitigated. Didn't actually make it in to the bank. So where is your data stored, this mysterious place? Well, fortunately for everybody, your data doesn't even leave Texas. It's stored in our data centers in Austin and Carrollton. So our data centers are used by 10 of the Fortune 20, 185 of the Fortune 1000. It comes with all of the leading certifications and audits, multi-layer physical security. Really, if you look at the last bullet, the only thing this is missing is a moat and a dragon. That's really the only thing that EverSpace doesn't have, and we're working on that. So what we would like for you to do is come and have a VIP tour into our EverSpace data center, and I can guarantee that you'll be impressed with all of the stuff that you see. But as always, if you have any questions, please come see us at table number 12 after the presentation, and we'd love to talk to you about it in more detail. Thank you.
What is your pricing model for the EverSpace solution for disaster recovery?
Sure, well, we have a flat fee, and that it would be based on the number of how much processing you need, essentially, is how that fee works.
Bill, we all at banks talk about disaster recovery. We all have plans. We hope that in the event that we have to activate that it works. What do you guys do to test that on a regular basis?
Yes, that is a great question. So as part of this, we do have a procedure for doing that test. I remember reading an article a few years ago where an IT consultant in a very similar situation brought a chainsaw and put the chainsaw down on a table. And he was talking to this company about their disaster recovery. And he said, well, why don't we go ahead and test it out right now? I'm just going to go ahead and take the chainsaw into your server room, and I'm going to start slashing cables. Let's see how your disaster recovery plan really works. EverSpace, whether it's full EverSpace or Recover, that plan and that test is all part of it.
So one of the critical things would be how quickly, with the Recover, that you could be up and running. So what is do you have a promise for that length of time, or an expected, time frame?
Sure. So we have a couple of different options. For the more priority servers, I believe it is as quickly or sooner than 4 hours. And then for if let's say your disaster starts, and so you put all of your priority resources in, and then because of maybe the vendors taking a long time on repair, then you need to start moving more servers. Well, then we may have a 24-hour and a 48-hour, so those will all be brought in. But keep in mind, we're doing the regular data transfer, so it's not like we've got to say, oh, wait a second, we've got to get the data from where it was into the data center. It's already there. It's really just managing the disaster. Really, that's what that time really boils down to.
Very good. Thank you very much.